So now, so far we have seen through his or in his autobiography on the day of swearing ceremony as the President of South Africa, Nelson Mandela is trying to recall the effort of all those who had made this grand day possible. It was obviously a very later day in the history of South Africa. South Africa emerged as a new republic, and 1994, 10th May, this swearing ceremony was going on. Okay, because we had studied last year, if you could recall your political science, 24 April 1994, South Africa born as a republic, and on 10th May he was being sworn in as the first black president of South Africa, or the first president of Independent Republic of South Africa, Republic of South Africa, or RSA sometimes it is also called as. On this very day, he's been talking about a lot of things. He remembered all his martyrs. He remembered all his comrades and colleagues who had fought along with him, shoulder to shoulder, in order to make this day possible. Apart from that, he has also been acknowledging the effort of the military forces, and then becoming a little bit nostalgic and sentimental, because he could recall the past, and the past that he was recalling was that the same very person where we had ended our class yesterday, the person who were torturing me, the person who were actually putting me and putting a guard on me in the prison because of the system that put us into huge torturous situation. Even I found some ray of hope, of love, of carelessness, of emotions. He had given the example of the guard that who of course was executing the command of his commander. In other words, he was doing his duty, and whatever he was doing was actually a torture on these people, because as a guard he was doing the duty of a prison, and these guys were imprisoned, Nelson Mandela and 7 others. So, but even at that, even for a second, I have noticed most of the time what he meant to say, that most of the time you guys are abusing me, you guys are torturing me, you guys are not so friendly to me. But then I have noticed, at least for a second, you have shown some sort of a sympathy for me. There were many people who were criticizing me, torturing me, talking ill of me, but then you also either remained silent or sounded chorus, joined that voice to torture me, to criticize me, to enjoy that criticism. But I have noticed from your face that you are not enjoying that criticism from the heart. You may be compelled by the situation and circumstances, and that is quite obvious. That is what I am looking the positive aspect of yours. Or even if you are part, there are two ways of looking at the things. Okay, suppose you are being joining some movement against anybody, that so-called anybody may conclude that these guys are opposing to me. But then maybe also the another side is also a possibility that you are joining that movement against somebody or some system, despite of the fact you did not want to join it. But because you are compelled by the system, you are being commanded to do like that. Okay, and presently you are not in a position to violate those commands. That is why you were been following off course. But then what I have noticed is that love for me, and that is good enough for me to survive, to continue. That is what he is telling, that in the days of hopelessness, some hopes were of course there, and that hope was good enough to let me go and fight for the struggle, and today we have achieved that one. Now he is talking about the duty of a person in the second part. In life, every man has twin obligations. Now this is a very great observation of Nelson Mandela, you may say so. We have at least two duties as a person in our civil society. We are living in a civilized society. One, our duty towards our family. Our first duty, to obey the command of your parents, to look after your parents, to look after your sons, daughters, and all the people immediately connected to you. It is your duty towards your family. And family in that sense teaches you the responsibility. You are responsible and accountable towards your family first. But at the same time, the second duty of ours is towards our nation and humanity on the whole. We are, of course, trying our level best to discharge our duties and fulfill our obligations of the family requirements. Everybody for that matter. But rarely do we execute our duty, or we are so sincere and serious about our duties towards the nation. That is a reality. But as a person, you see in life, every man has twin obligations. Obligations to his family, obligations to his parents, to his wife, to his children, means overall the family. And he has an obligation to his people, his community, his country also. Okay, that is what the two obligations we have as a duty. We need to be accountable towards the country and humanity on the whole. And second, first to start with, of course, towards the family. In a civil and humane society, that is in a civilization where humanity exists, this is the call of the humanity. Each man is able to fulfill those obligations according to his own inclinations and abilities. Okay, if you are sincere, if you are serious about all these things, definitely what you are doing, you are actually been doing, you are first of all, you want to help others, suppose. But then before helping others, you need to help yourself. Unless you don't help yourself, you are very much sincere that you want to do something for your family. But before doing something for your family, you need to do many things for yourself. You should transform yourself into a position where you are now in a position to do something for the family. That is very good, very responsible, but that is not enough. Because one side you have discharged your obligations, you have discharged your duties, but on the other hand, the duty towards the society on the whole and the humanity in general, these things have been sounding very easy but very difficult to do that. And especially for a person like Nelson Mandela in the situation of South Africa, apartheid South Africa, where the apartheid was going on, the blacks had a very limited opportunities to do anything. I want to help you, but for that one I need to be into a position to help you out. And because a lot of opportunities were being denied, inequality existed, discrimination were deep rooted in South Africa. The whites were torturing blacks and the blacks were not allowed to do many things. In such a situation, in such an atmosphere, it was literally impossible for any black person living in South Africa to live a respectable life. So if you yourself are struggling for living a respectable and good life, how can you help out others? So that is what the handicap he was been talking about. Let us see what he has been further telling. But in a country, that is what exactly he is telling. In a country like South Africa, in those days he was talking about, it was almost impossible for a man of my birth and color, that is what it means, the tribe that he has taken birth into, and the color of the skin, and both of the things were the parameters, one of the responsible factors for the apartheid or for those discrimination. To put it simple, these guys were being so discriminated and denied with many opportunities that they were struggling to survive. And those who are struggling to survive themselves, can you expect from them to discharge their duty towards the family or towards the society or country? That is what he is telling. It was literally very impossible. In South Africa, a man of color who attempted to live as a human being was punished and isolated. And that is what exactly these guys did. Okay, we are also a human being. Why you are discriminating me? Why you are giving me the inhuman animal treatment? The raising such voice was actually illegal. And that is what welcoming you and putting you under the bracket of treason. Because apartheid was a special law in South Africa that was being justified and legalized by the South African white government. And if anything you are doing against the government or against the country, you are putting yourself in the bracket of treason. And if yourself are being charged with treachery, you will be isolated, you will be confined. And once you have been confined or imprisoned somewhere, forget about helping out yourself. And if you are not in a position to help yourself out, how can you do good to the other people or even thinking of doing good to any other people? Okay. So in South Africa, a man of color who attempted to live as a human being was punished and isolated. In South Africa, a man who tried to fulfill his duty to his people was compulsorily, unavoidably, inevitably, ripped from his family and his home and was forced to live a life apart. So they were being taken out, punished as a ripping off is taking away, punishing is a sort of a punishment. So you will be disconnected from your family. You will be snatched from your family if you are thinking of doing something good for your people, because you are belonging to a black race, and the black race were the completely forbidden race in those days in South Africa when the apartheid system was going on. So even if you have been thinking or doing something, as a punishment, first of all, you will be snatched from your family, you will be taken away from your family and put into the prison in confinement. And the confinement was there where? In the Robben Island, which was one of the dreadful prisons of South Africa. Okay. So I did not, in South Africa, a man who tried to fulfill his duty to his people was compulsorily, unavoidably, inevitably ripped from his family and his home and was forced to live a life apart. A twilight existence of secrecy and rebellion. And so this is what, if you have been surviving, you are existing, it is you will be put into secrecy. If you want to do something, you have to do something secretly, and plus, in a sense, you will have to revolt, you have to rebel. And when you are rebelling against anything or anybody, you are doing something secretly, you have a limited opportunity. You cannot open up. There were many challenges. So to put it simple, even if I am sincere about doing something for my community, for my men, for my country, I cannot do that because I have to raise my voice. I have to organize people against the government. And against the system, against the government, there are many risks, and I may be put into jail, I will be executed, I will be, I may be put to death also. So chances of getting success was very dismal, and it was very, very serious challenge altogether. I did not in the beginning choose to place my people above my family, but in attempting to serve my people, I found that I was prevented from fulfilling my obligation as a son, a brother, a father and a husband. And that is a very great line. Okay. In the beginning, he is confessing that today we know that when he was a great South African patriot. He was a great apostle and a messenger of humanity. He has been conferred upon the Nobel Peace Prize also for his effort for humanity. He did a lot of things for the humanity, for the civilization in general, globally, not only for South Africa. But he started his journey in South Africa as a South African. But he is confessing very, very honestly that in the beginning I was hardly thinking about becoming a patriot, and there was no connection whatsoever. I was rarely thinking about my country. Okay. But then of course I was very much sincere as a son towards my father. I was very much sincere as a son towards my mother. I wanted to be a good brother. Means I was totally been thinking about my family. I want to help out my family. I wanted to help out myself. But during the course of helping out my family, during the course of following my father's command, during the course of actually doing something good for the family, I found many compulsions, I found many handicaps, many barriers, many restrictions. Why? Because we were all belonging to a black family, and belonging to a black community, there were many things that we were denied to do. I cannot go there, I cannot do this, I cannot do that. So if a lot of things have been restricted upon you, even if you want to do something for your family, you cannot do that. And from where he found some sort of a seeds of patriotism started sprouting into his mind. Why? Because when he found that others are freely doing a lot of things for themselves, for their family, for their society, and the same thing in my country was being denied, as I have told you in the previous lecture of mine. For a small kid, it hardly matters that what the political system of a country is, where you are living in. You are living under a dictatorship, or we had studied at length about Nazi Germany. Nazi Germany, Hitler was very precise in even on the children also. He himself had taken the charge of rearing the youth of the country the way he wanted to rear them. And in the name of upbringing the people, in the name of rearing the youth of the country, he first of all even he became very much harsh on undesirable children. We had studied there in history last year. Okay, so this is all that even in that Germany, which was very precise and very heavy, why he had to take the chance of cleansing the school, and in the name of cleansing school, what he did, he had first of all decided not allowing to set the desirable and undesirable children together, because the child are innocent creatures. Okay, they are very innocent, and out of innocence it hardly matters whether we are black or we are white or whatever we are. Okay, so if once the bond of relationship develops, it would be literally very difficult to separate them. When I also took birth and started growing up, during my grown-up days, I literally felt a liberty of moving wherever I wanted to go, as any other child has been doing. Okay, wherever you want to move, you are moving. You hardly think whether the neighborhood is the house in the neighborhood is not yours. But then when you grow up, you actually been even going into that house and it's been eating and dining even, and they are also been feeling very pleased in giving the reception to you. Okay, as a child, we are habituated in a sense to live a very, very free life. But then the moment we are been heading towards the adulthood, once this freedom has been closing upon us, there are many barriers started coming up. Don't go there, that is not yours. Don't do that, that is not yours. Expected to be done by you. Don't take that one, that is not yours. Okay, in the beginning when you have started, and that is what a mismatch, it is very difficult to adapt and customized. Why? Because whatever you wished, you did it. Nobody in the beginning actually restricted you to do that, and all of a sudden the restrictions started coming heavy on you. Sometimes it is a beginning of a rebellion in you deny, you feel frustrated. Why should I be like that? And in the case of South Africa, these guys, the blacks in particular, were been finding these restrictions more rigid, more hard, more heavy on them, even outside politically also. Okay, so that is what he is telling now. So in the beginning, he was not thinking about the country, but then the thought about the country came naturally to him. His main target was to look after his family. His main target was to serve his father. But then during the course of giving or rendering his service to his father, he found many obstacles and hindrances in the name of restrictions or segregation. The term, the segregation, we had studied, if you could remember, in your previous class SST. Okay, that is what he's telling you. See, I was not born with a hunger to be free. Very honest confession. Since birth, I was not to be a born by birth freedom fighter. Okay, I was not hungry about the freedom of my community and freedom from the clutches of apartheid. This black and white discrimination should be eliminated and uprooted from the country. This sort of things I never thought of even in the beginning. So then I was born free, of course, but then the free of what? Free in every way that I could know. Free to run in the fields, that is what I was talking about. Okay, so as a child, he was freely moving and running in the field, irrespective of the fact that whose field it is, whether it is a restricted area or out of bound area. Okay, so this is. So I was born free in every way that I could know, free to run in the fields near my mother's hut, free to swim in the clear stream that ran through my village, free to roast mealies under the stars and ride the broad backs of the slow moving bulls. Means whatever he was been doing, he was that is a few beans that has been found in South Africa. He was been plucking it, roasting it, baking it, and eating it freely in the open air. He was actually been. You would have seen that in the village area, many small kids are been riding over the buffalo and enjoying that one. Irrespective, that does not mean entire buffalo is actually been owned by that person. But then that child is enjoying even riding the buffalo of others. But the moment you grow up, you go into the adulthood. If you are been taking and riding the buffalo of others, the command would be coming on the side of the owner. That is not yours. So the gradually somewhere where the freedom started being blocked, that meeting point was a very disturbing meeting point for Nelson Mandela, sort of a person, where he found the sprouting of patriotism. Why we are denied to do that? Till yesterday, I did whatever I wished to do. I enjoyed my freedom. Then all of a sudden, when I'm realizing that that freedom is curtailed upon me and I'm not allowed to live and move a free life, he felt literally upset. So you see, as long as I obeyed my father and abided by the customs of my tribe, I was not troubled by the laws of man or God. And that is what his first accountability. That you have been also thinking that I am not infringing or violating my family rules. Okay. Actually, in my land, in my tribe, whatever the rules, because he belonged to that Afrikaans Zulu tribe we had studied. So there in a tribal community, they have their tribal rules and regulations also. Okay, so as long as I am following everything, as long as you are following the discipline of the school, it hardly matters to you that what is been going in your other schools. As long as you have been following the rules of your family, as long as you are following the rules of the school that you are living in or studying into, okay, you hardly care about what is been going anywhere else. In the whole of the country, you are enjoying that freedom. But when you go to the rest of the world, when you go outside on a broader spectrum, you find that the freedom that you enjoyed in your childhood days started gradually closing upon you, and it was finally denied to you. And sort of a rebellion started sprouting up into your mind, heart and soul. And you, from here, that was the birth of Nelson Mandela as a freedom fighter. He started and decided to fight, and then he started to fulfill his twin obligations that he talked about. One towards the family, another towards the country. But towards the country was not by birth. Towards the family was, of course, by birth. Okay. However, it was only when I began to learn that my boyhood freedom was an illusion. It is a sort of a confusion that appears to exist but does not exist in reality. That is Brahm in Hindi. So it was only when I began to learn that my boyhood, my childhood was a reality which was free and very, very fine, very pure, very pristine, very enjoyable. But that enjoyment was short-lived when he started realizing that one. When I discovered as a young man that my freedom had already been taken away from me, and that I began to hunger for it. And that is what is you are mostly looking for. If once whatever you are wishing and you are getting, you start not valuing that thing that much. You start taking the things for granted. But if I restrict you, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that, you would be just generating the curiosity of doing that much, that particular thing which has been denied to you or restricted upon you. Once he came to the boyhood, he started growing up, and he found the rest of the world internally in the childhood days everything was free and fine, but when he became adult he found everything was not so, walking on a bed of roses. He has to attain for that, and there were many things that others were doing. He was deserving to do, he was desiring and deserving both, but was not been available to him. Then he developed the appetite of fighting for that freedom. Then he denied to surrender that in my country, why these twofold rules are there? One is something else for somebody and another is the denied to the somebody. And then he started. So from here is the birth of his freedom fighter. At first, as a student, I wanted freedom only for myself. The transitory freedom of wing, anything transitory is, that is short-lived, non-permanent. So at first as a student I wanted freedom only for myself, the transitory freedoms of being able to stay out at night, read what I pleased and go where I choose. Later as a young man in Johannesburg, I looked for or yearning for, wanting for, that is yearning for the basic and honorable freedoms of achieving my potential, of earning my keep, of marrying and having a family, the freedom not to be obstructed in a lawful life. And this is what everybody loves to do that. Okay, as a student, as this says, you don't like to be obstructed. Whatever you wanted to read, you are studying. Wherever you wanted to go, sometimes you want, okay, I will be going at night late in the evening, देर रात से आएंगे. अगर मम्मी पापा भी मना करते हैं तो you don't like. So this is, you don't like that restrictions आ गए, क्या जरूरत था, अभी तो 9 ही बजा है. ओके, पापा मम्मी बोल रहे हैं यार 9 बज गया, रात में कहाँ घूम रहा था, तुम बोल रहे हो अभी 9 ही बजा है, मेरे और दोस्त घूमते हैं तो हम क्यों नहीं घूमेंगे. That is what you are looking for, freedom. But then that freedom is once again the self-centered freedom. Okay, so one was the freedom which was been available to all the child. Another was the freedom where we have been talking only for yourself, and if anybody, and that anybody is what? Your family or your surrounding or your relatives is, but that has nothing to do with the law. You were not being denied the freedom by the law. Once you realized that that denial is also there existing for the blacks in South Africa, he felt frustrated and he felt both angry and hungry to get it back. Okay. So, but when I slowly saw that not only was I not free, but my brothers and sisters, and that is what his second obligation started coming on him. Okay, that towards his family, his community, and everybody of his like and the way he was living. So my brothers and sisters were not free. I saw that it was not just my freedom that was curtailed or it was cut short, okay, or reduced, but the freedom of everyone who looked like I did. Okay, means all the blacks. That is when I joined the African National Congress, and that is when the hunger for my own freedom became the greater, and hunger for the freedom of my people. And from here, he started fighting for freedom. It was this desire for the freedom of my people to live their lives with dignity and self-respect that animated, activated, excited me. And this is what, why not I would be also living the same life the whites are living? Why not my men will be living the same life the whites are living? Why? How come we are lesser in potential or in attitude or in personality or in opportunity? How come you have decided that we are inferior to you? In the white rule, we had seen that in apartheid time, the whites were considering themselves superior, and the rest, the colored and the white blacks were being considered as inferiors. The blacks were the most hated race in South Africa during the apartheid period, and that is what he felt angry, and that anger actually literally animated him, excited him, given him the energy to fight against that system of apartheid. So that transformed a frightened young man into a bold one, and that is from where the transformation started coming. He was literally very much a self-centered person in the beginning. Even go through the childhood days, he is acknowledging and confessing that he was very much committed and dedicated towards his family, for his tribe. He was enjoying that freedom. He was hardly thinking about the country. But when he grew up and became a student, once again his His freedom sort of a terminology was very much self-centered. For him, the meaning of the freedom was that whatever he wished, he wanted to do, and nobody would restrict him. What he wished, he read. Where he wanted, he went. He want to party out at night. Then, if somebody is restricting, then only some sort of the frustration or anger or sort of a thing coming on his part. So it was all self-centered, but never ever he thought about that country's freedom. But during the course of his growing up, when he realized that outside world, that is outside the domain of this self-centered life, there was a huge discrimination and restrictions in the name of apartheid, and then it has given him the courage, it has given him the goal and the aim something, and that aim was to free the country from the clutches of apartheid, which literally he did also. Okay. So that transformed a frightened young man into a bold one, that drove a law-abiding attorney. You see, attorney means advocate, law-abiding means law-following. He himself was the follower of law, forgetting about breaking the law. Those who are the follower of the law, those who are actually anybody, suppose you are the expert of the law. Before doing anything, you know that when if you are doing this thing, you are actually breaking the law, and such a punishment can be awarded to you. We are an ignorant person, we are doing something out of ignorance, we don't know there is a law that we are breaking rather. Okay. But then if somebody is a legal expert doing everything, is actually been knowing that he or she is breaking the law, and he should not do like that one. So not only he was a legal expert, he was an attorney, Nelson Mandela, but he was very much a law-abiding citizen. There are some citizens, there are some people who love to follow the rules. Okay, most of the people have the psychology of following the rules when the forces are being imposed upon them. If somebody watches you, if you have been punished, then you are wearing helmet, otherwise you are not wearing it. Okay, but then there are many people who have been wearing it by default, whether somebody has been looking at me or observing me or forcing me or not. I should wear it simply because it is the rule of the traffic rule. I must follow it irrespective of the fact whether I was been watched or not. So such a person is put or can be put under the category of a law-abiding citizen. That law-abiding citizen was Nelson Mandela. So breaking the law was a distant possibility so far he was concerned. Nobody can think a person who is valuing the law very much is raising his voice and struggle to against that unjustified law, and he wanted the equality for all. So I am no more virtuous or self-sacrificing than the next man, but I found that I could not even enjoy the poor and limited freedom I was allowed when I knew my people were not free. And then from here, that self-centered person transformed himself as a cosmopolitan person, an international person. Okay, he is telling that now it is enough. I don't want to be called as a very great person. Sir, आप बहुत अच्छे हैं क्योंकि आप नियम कानून बहुत अच्छा फॉलो करते हैं. मैक्सिमम यही कहते हैं हम लोग नेल्सन मंडेला के बारे में. But then he never liked to be known like that one. I'm a very virtuous person. I'm a very great sacrificing person. मैंने बहुत कुछ किया, ऐसा कुछ नहीं. I'm not going to sacrifice. You can blame me of treachery that he was charged with. You can put me in jail for treason. Okay, fine. Miss a person. This is a great mismatch. My reputation is a great law-abiding citizen, and then you are putting me on me the charge of treason. And what is treason? Doing everything against the nation. How can a person who has been indulged into treachery is a law-abiding? So that particular, I don't want to carry on the reputation of a great law-abiding virtuous person. Instead, I would be loved to be called as a treasurer who has cheated the nation's law and for the sake of my people. So nothing was now self-centered or selfish. I wanted everything for my men, means the entire blacks must also enjoy, or the colored population of South Africa must also getting the same sort of a freedom what whites are getting. No change must be there for his men. I knew that the oppressor must be liberated just as surely as the oppressed, and this is what the great idea of is. Both of us are been under the clutch of something. We are being imposed by the inferiority. I am becoming the victim of your superiority. So you are also being changed by your superiority. You are also the slave to superiority. तुम भी अपने को ढेर होशियार समझ रहे थे. ये जो you are somewhere an egoist. So this sort of the demeritorious thing has, you are greedy, you are egoist, you are selfish, you are considering yourself very much superior, and because of all these things you have been. So you also needed to be liberated from what? Ego. From what? From arrogance. From what? From superiority complex. It is not only we must be liberated from this sort of discrimination, but you must also be, and that is what he was telling, that both the oppressed and the oppressor must be liberated. A man who takes away another man's freedom is also a prisoner. Okay? Not only a man. Prisoner of what? Hatred. The hatred for others have imprisoned you. You cannot go and see beyond the limit of your hatefulness to others. The life outside world is great. There are many merits in me. There are many virtues in you. But because you hate me, because you have put a blind specs on you, and that is the speck of hatred and the denounce and despise for anybody, so you became the slave of these negative things. Okay, so this is what he is talking about. He is locked behind the bars of prejudice and narrow-mindedness. So injustices, these people who are oppressing others are also slave to what? Slave to injustice, slave to narrow-mindedness. You are not able to see beyond the life. Why are you even torturing the fellow citizen of yours? That is what you also needed to be liberated, not only we. I am not truly free if I am taking away someone else's freedom, and that is what he is telling. I may consider I am a free person, but I cannot be in a real sense be free in the opinion of Nelson Mandela if I am denying the same freedom to you. If I am telling that this is my right, and we had studied in political science somewhere, you would have studied that all the claims are not the right. If I think it is my claim to breathe in the pure air, so this claim of mine breathing the pure air must also be given to others. Then only it converts into a human right. Okay. So what I think for myself must also be granted and given to others. And if I am not giving it to others, it means that I am also somewhere chained with injustices and selfishness. I must also be liberated. The oppressed and the oppressor alike are robbed of their humanity. That is what he's talking about, and I think it is over today.